Do you ever feel like you are praying and you feel like God isn't speaking to you, or you just feel like you're missing the mark somehow? Last night I was up from like 3 a.m. until, basically up since 3 a.m. I dozed a little bit for like an hour from 6:30 to 7:30, and I was up having like crucial anxiety of like, how am I going to do this? What if this happens? What if that happens? What if this happens? And just, thinking of all the worst case scenarios that could happen in my life. And I could not control my intrusive thoughts. Like, I was doing the best I could to, have good thoughts and tell myself other things and, to stay in the moment. And I'd be good for a few minutes. I would doze off and I'd wake up with intrusive thoughts again if I, dozed off again. And so I just had this like insane amount of anxiety. And my anxiety is just gearing mostly around my children. That's it. I don't really care what necessarily happens to me. I care what happens to them, and I want them to have like the best life, and I want them to feel like they have the best mom, and I don't want them to ever, have less than what they need or deserve in life. And I feel like I have a lot of pressure on myself to give them the best life possible. And I have anxiety over just like, being able to keep a roof over their heads, So anyway, I was like laying there tossing and tossing, turning, all that, just anxiety and praying. And like, I'd get up, I'd jump up and I'd walk around my room and pray, and then be like, okay, I'm just going to lay back down. And then, all of a sudden I had this inspiring thought come in my mind. Andrea, you are in charge of your life. You are in charge of your destiny. If you don't want to feel all these feelings of insecurity, then be better. Get up earlier, create a list, knock out everything on your list, budget, make sure you're on a budget, because you make enough money to pay all your bills as it is. Just make sure you're on a budget, go through all your financials and budget yourself, and make sure you spend within your means. Make sure you're organized, make sure you have everything written down in one place, and get yourself straight, get yourself organized. You are in control of a lot of what happens in your daily life that you struggle with as a single mom, and being scatterbrained and all over the place. So I kind of had it was kind of like a self-empowering thought that I felt like came from God. Like, God didn't just swoop down and drop me $1 million in my pocket, which would be nice, but I was given an empowering thought of a way that I can make my life better, to where I don't have to have this crippling anxiety of feeling like I'm completely out of control of my life and the way things could go or are going, So anyway, I just wanted to share that and just say, if anybody else is having these kinds of feelings and thoughts, like in the middle of the night, especially for me, the middle of the night is the worst. You're not alone. If you're having these major anxiety or strong emotions and feelings, especially, if you're alone when you're having them, or even if you're with people, make sure you pray, read some scripture, pray, and let God speak and let him work, and pray and step aside and have faith that he's going to answer your prayers and answer the desires of your hearts. But like I say in all my videos, you have to meet him where he's at. You have to put in the work as well. The 10 Commandments are there for a reason. Follow them. The scripture is there for a reason. And one time I was in a movie, the Bible means basic instructions before leaving Earth. That's what it is. The Bible is there to help give us instructions, it's there to help guide us. And so, yeah, that's my encouragement for you today. And that's my encouragement for me too. That's my reminder as I go through the day, and, fear creeps through me off and on, especially at night when I'm trying to go to sleep and rest, and, I have intrusive thoughts. So yeah, just be strong, be brave, be confident, and be powerful. Empower yourself. Do what you need to do to be better. And we're in charge of ourselves, Ultimately, God gives us free will, so we can pray all we want, but we still have free will of our decisions and what we decide to do day to day. So, if you want to have a better life, then be a better person, plain and simple. If you want better things, then be better and do better. And that's it. Okay, that's all. Have a great day, everybody.